I really do appreciate y'all coming. And sometimes I sit in sessions and it's really great and they're inspirational, and other times I sit in sessions and I kind of walk away going, I could never do that, but it's good to know that that's there. So what I wanted to do today was, for the first half or so, just kind of talk in general about marketing automation and kind of conceptually how it fits in with the Drupal stack. And then for the second half, actually sit down and show you what a marketing automation tool looks like on the inside. I don't want this to, there's no way for it not to be, but I don't want this to be me selling you on my tool. There are lots of marketing automation tools out there. They all have pros and cons. Mine's the best, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't check the other ones out too. So my name is Ben Finklea. I'm the CEO of a company called Volacci, and we've been in the Drupal space for, well, personally I've been in the Drupal space for about 8 years. The company's been around for about 5. And we do all kinds of digital marketing. It's becoming more and more and more about content and content creation. But before we dive in, can I just ask, by quick show of hands, how many of you are marketers or consider yourself marketers in your organization? Okay, about half. And how many of you are work for Drupal shops, like the purpose of that shop is to do stuff in the Drupal community, that company? So it's weird because like the marketers were all, it's like there's not much overlap in those two. That's interesting. And then just real quick, what are some things that you're hoping to find out? Actually, let me ask another question. How many of you are using marketing automation in your business today? Okay, everybody on my team, if your hand's not up, we're going to talk later. Okay, so very few. How many of you have never seen the inside of a marketing automation suite platform before? Okay, half the room. All right, cool, that's good. All right, so, any questions that you want us to make sure that I cover?
Since we've never seen one, are you just going to show us like ponies and rainbows and awesome things? Or?
If that's what you want to see. I will show you that, but I'd prefer not. Yeah, I'll show you the inside of a marketing automation tool so you can see what that looks like. Anything else to make sure that I cover before we get started? Okay. If you have any questions, I have stacks of t-shirts. So anybody who asks a question, even if it's not a very good question, which, speaking of which, there you go. No, it was kind of a horrible question, but proof of concept. So I have big and I have bigger. So anybody who asks a question gets to have a Valachi Automator shirt. So, all right. So in the Drupal community, this is how people think of marketers. We're evil people who just are ruining Drupal, and it's the bane. I've literally heard those words. Marketers are ruining Drupal. In fact, you can probably go search in some of the threads that I've been on D.O and GDO, where I'm defending marketers. But if the community thinks of digital marketers like this, then this is what the community thinks of marketing automation, right? Just a whole bunch of really bad, evil things. And so what I want to spend a few minutes doing is really telling you what marketing automation really is and how it is another tool in your Drupal tool bag. So the definition of marketing automation, it's a software platform that helps marketers and sales teams qualify, nurture, and close more leads by replacing repetitive manual processes with automated solutions. So it has a lot of the same characteristics that Drupal has, right? It's automatically serving up content, automatically nurturing or getting people through your site, getting them to do what they want, checking out in your e-commerce solution. Drupal does a lot of those things, and it does them pretty well in certain use cases. But a marketing automation tool is going to bring you a lot more functionality and a lot more integration with the marketer's toolkit. Let's talk about that for a minute. An easy way to think of marketing automation is Sugar or Salesforce.com to a Male model is as marketing automation to a female model. Well, it must be a sales guy and a marketer, right? So, the CRM is to the sales guy as marketing automation is to the marketing person, right? It gives them tools to do their job better. It gets them focused on the right things, and it lets them reach further with the time that they have. Some features. So lots of different features, lots of different things that you can do with marketing automation. Do you know what some of those are already? Can you shout some of those out? They're written on the screen. You can just say those things. That's fine. Qualification, that's great. So what you can do with a marketing automation tool is you can set up what's called lead scoring. And as somebody goes through your site and takes certain activities, you give them a number, you give them a score, and you increment or decrement that score based on what they do. So if somebody comes into your site, maybe they come in the homepage, you might give them 10 points. And they click on the About Us page, hey, this person's pretty interested, let's give them 20 points. But then they click on the careers page and spend 5 minutes there. Well, you're going to take a bunch of points away because that's probably not somebody who's interested in doing business with you. That's somebody who's interested in applying for a job, right? So marketing automation is kind of aware of those contexts. But in a typical situation, okay, maybe they subscribe to your newsletter, they sign up for a webinar, or they see you at a trade show. All of those things can be captured in a marketing automation tool, and then the higher and higher that number gets, the lead score gets, the more and more qualified they are. And you can actually have different types of scores, so multiple scores. So you could have contact scores, or you could have people that are qualified in certain verticals in your business. And then once they reach a certain point, you want to pass those off to your sales team, which is kind of that sales effectiveness piece, right? If the sales team gets qualified leads, they're going to close more deals. And that's the promise of a good marketing campaign. Other stuff that marketing automation does. Anybody? Anyone? More stuff. Just read from the screen. Email marketing, perfect. So at its core, a marketing automation software suite is an email marketing tool. And what you do is say, how many of you send out a newsletter? A lot of people. And how many of you use MailChimp? Very popular. How many use Drupal to send out your newsletter? One guy. That's brave, dude. That's awesome. But there are lots of tools out there for sending emails. But with a marketing automation tool, what it actually does is it tags every URL in that newsletter to the specific person that the email is going to. So when that person clicks on that newsletter and comes back to your website, you have now identified that person. They've identified themselves as, I'm the guy who got that email. Well, you know who you sent that email to. And so there's a pretty high likelihood that that's the same person. Well, now with a cookie, you can see what they're doing on your website and increment the scores and stuff. It's one of the ways that you identify yourself to the websites that you visit. How many of you subscribe to newsletters and have ever clicked on it? Did you know that they're tracking everything that you do online? Yeah, absolutely. Well, not only are the businesses that you do business with, but now, with Prism, so is, well, Uncle Sam and everybody else, right? So the only difference really between the smaller companies and the big companies is that the big companies have been doing it for a long time, and now these tools are starting to become available for the smaller businesses and become economically feasible for the smaller businesses. Lots of other stuff, forms, smart drip campaigns, send an email if they do this activity, follow up 3 days later to make sure they got it. Stuff like that is really, really easy. Stuff that a marketer would want to do. So why? What's the benefit to an organization to do these kinds of things? Are there any tangible numbers that we can look at and better understand why marketing automation is so powerful? So this is a really interesting stat from Forrester. Companies that excel at lead nurturing generate 50% more sales-ready leads at 33% lower cost. Right? Self-identified. Are you good at nurturing your leads? Let's look at another one. This one from the Annuitas Group. Businesses that use marketing automation to nurture prospects experience a 451% increase in qualified leads. So what's a qualified lead? It's one that responds. It's one that has been nurtured and has interacted and shown the signs of being a good customer. So what we do with our customers is we consult with them and we say something as simple as, what's a recent customer that you've closed? And then we go and we pull up that customer's click stream. We just look at what's everything that they did, and then we look at another customer and another customer. We start to look for patterns. And once we understand the pattern that a good customer follows, we can set up our lead scoring and we can set up our drip campaigns and our rules based on that pattern. Well, if all of your best customers go through your site like this, and then somebody is going right here, well, what can you do to make sure that they proceed along that same path and turn into a customer for your business? And that's what a good marketer is going to be able to do when you have the kind of individual views into what people are doing on your site. Nurtured leads make bigger purchases. They buy more, right? Why? Why do they buy more? Nurtured meaning that you've brought them along, you've tailored some content for them. They trust you more. It's a relationship, right? You're always going to buy more from somebody that you trust. You're also going to be better informed about what's available to buy. And that's going to be really a big step toward buying more, is knowing what's available. All right, one more of these. Relevant emails drive 18 times more revenue than broadcast emails, right? That just makes natural sense, right? Well, unfortunately, on our websites, we're showing, typically speaking, we're showing the exact same website to every visitor that walks in the door. So maybe on emails, maybe you're clever and you're doing some customized emails and you're tailoring the content of those emails based on who's receiving it. But how many of you are tailoring the websites that you build? Don't raise your hands. It's fine. It's nice. Sorry, thank you. I'm just kidding. It wasn't really somebody. It was just an empty chair. Anyway, but this is what you get. When you go to a website, you get the same website that everybody else gets. Do you remember what Ford said with the Model T? It's like, must be the most quoted, Ford quote was, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. Well, that's bad. That's not good. It leads to people not wanting to do business with you if you don't tailor the message to what they want. What we're capable of doing now is giving people any color they want, any style they want, and we build those cars right on assembly lines, just like cars have been built for 100 years, right? But you can actually order, and that one car is going to be perfectly tailored for you. If they can do it in the automobile industry, we're high tech. This should be easy. This should be straightforward for us. So, the question that I get, and I've been getting all weekend, is, but what about SEO? I thought you guys were in SEO. Are you guys not doing the SEO stuff anymore? Well, it's actually, SEO is a really big part of what gets people to your site. But then what you do with that person once they're on your site becomes very, very important. So what we do is we segment our visitors based on search terms. So if they searched on a particular term, they're going to go into in a bucket that we call a segment. And then using the fact that they're in that segment, we're going to change the content that we show them. We're going to change the emails that we send them. We're going to change the segments they belong to. And then we're going to use that to do a better job of communicating and building a relationship with that visitor. So I mocked this up really, really quick. It's basically the marketing funnel. You guys have all heard of a marketing funnel before. But at the top of the funnel, you get kind of the traffic generation. You get SEO and pay-per-click and social media, and there's a lot of different ways to generate traffic to your website. But as you kind of go through the marketing funnel, those top of the funnel activities only do so much good, right? If you've got a 1% conversion rate, the only way that you can increase your business is to go get more traffic, right? If all you focus on is the top of the funnel. If you come in with a tool like Automator, or you do some conversions work on your site, what you start to do is you start to increase those numbers, increase the percentage of people that make it to the second level, and increase the numbers of the people that make it down through the funnel using tools like nurturing, marketing automation, and then eventually, of course, you want your leads to fall right out the bottom. Now, content is all up and down the funnel, but the content changes. The content that you should be delivering is very different based on where in the funnel somebody is. Somebody who's at the top of the funnel that came to your site on a generic search term, pretty broad search term, you've got to give them industry information. You've got to give them broad educational type information. If they come in the top of the funnel and the first thing you show them is an add to cart button as your call to action, you're losing their attention because they're not ready for that yet. But as they move through the funnel, they're gonna start thinking more along the lines of, okay, I understand kind of what this is. Well, how does this fit for me? Right? Again, you're not ready to buy. You need to educate them. A drip campaign can do that. Custom content on your site can do that. Right? And then as you traverse down through to and get them over to sales, it really becomes more about, well, how is this going to fit my particular situation? And you create content that helps them understand that, because 98% of people who visit your site are not ready to buy yet. Right? But if you can get them signed up to a newsletter, then you can nurture them until they're ready. You can stay top of mind. You can give them the bits of information that they need. Okay. Two more things. This is a slide from DRI's Keynote Address in Portland. How many of you saw that Keynote Address already? Okay, a handful of people, good. And he talked really about Drupal being all things combined, integrating with best-of-breed tools, delivering great mobile experiences, and the ease of use and content authoring. And I hope hopefully you've been to a number of sessions this weekend that have talked about those things. But the integration piece with other tools is really why Volacci started working on Automator as a tool that we wanted to deliver to the Drupal community. So this is his next slide, and it's talking about Drupal Startups. And we've got Commerce Guys on here, Red Hen and Civis CRM, so different aspects of that sales funnel make it. And then Valachi Automator was on the marketing automation side. What we are trying to do is build great tools for the Drupal community so that Drupal continues to get better and better and better as a marketing platform. You've probably heard of web experience management and a number of different things that we could talk about, but it's becoming very, very important that we deliver those. And this is really, if I could just show you one slide, this would be it. What we've done is we've combined a 1-2 punch of Drupal and Automator, integrated them in together so that you can win more often. All right, so next up is I want to give you a quick demo. Before I do that, any questions so far? Okay, good. Whew. All right. So so first thing I want to show you is just kind of what it looks like behind the scenes, and then time permitting, I'll show you a little bit more of the cutting edge stuff. Let me mirror my display real quick. Oh, I'm really confused. Arrangement, mirror. Hey. All right. So this is the first screen. Do what? Oh, I've been doing. Oh, actually, you know what? Thank you for saying that. I need to go over here. This is the actual. This is Valachi's instance of Automator. This is what we run on our homepage, right? And what you're seeing right now is what you would see when you first log in to Automator. So just to kind of run through it real quick. Of course, you have your pretty typical tabs across the top and some options down here down the left. We're in the Visitors tab, which just basically shows you the visitors that have been to your site. So right now we're looking at all contacts, and that is people that have identified themselves, but also people that have not. So we got all our anonymous users in there as well. What I like to do, and incidentally, when you first install Automator, the only segment that you'll have is all contacts, right? Because nothing's been kind of chopped up yet. But as you go along, you'll have different reasons for creating different segments. So these are all the segments that we've created, a bunch of different ones there. And the one that I like to use quite often is what we call known contacts. And quite simply, known means we know who they are. We probably have their name, but we definitely have an email address, okay? So these are our known contacts, and we know some of the people here. In fact, I think some of these people are in the room. But what we can do here is, okay, here's somebody. Anybody heard of Blink Reaction? Okay, so here's Nancy Stango. She visited from Blink. And you can click over here, and you can see here's what she did. It was at 9:48 this morning. She came to our homepage, and then she clicked Digital Marketing Solutions, and she spent hardly any time at all there. Like, you know, she's like, no. So, but at least we know that she came and visited the site. Now, I happen to know that Nancy, we're working on a deal together. So she's probably coming in just to look at what the names of different things are. I have no idea. But this is the kind of power that you can get, right? So let's broaden that out a little bit and go back and look back over a couple of days. Come on, Automator. Is that doing anything up there? Let me just refresh here. Let's talk about commerce. Are you seeing? Yeah, I'm getting way more real estate on my screen than you are on yours. So let me make sure you guys can see everything. Okay, is that better? Okay. So let's back it up. I don't know. Let's go a week ago. And now we're looking at known contacts from this last week. So a lot more. Sort by number of pages viewed. Because obviously, you know, the more pages somebody viewed on your site, probably the more interested they are in your company. Eric is one of my team. So is Kylan. Clearly, people at Volacci love Volacci. So, but here's, you know, so you can just basically go on through. I just wanted to show you, you know, what kind of the click stream looks like. So Google, this guy came from Google, but there was no search term provided. But he went through, and this thank you page is why we know who this guy is, right? He went to a form, downloaded something, and the result is the thank you page. And then he went through and contacted Valachi. All right, let's flip on through here. You can actually go through and, you know, there's a lot of analytics kind of built into it. We call it the analytics of the individual. So you can get kind of the aggregated views of what things look like, traffic sources, pages viewed. Now, this is interesting. This is pages viewed of known contacts. So you would, of course, expect known contacts to look at, you know, kind of the thank you page, because that's how we know who they are. So let me broaden that out again. But you can start to gain some really insightful information about what people are doing when they come to your site based on the segment. So some ideas for segments. You could segment and look at only people who are marketers. And the way that you would do that is you would segment based on their title. So if they have the word marketing or market in their title, you can create a segment of those people. You could create a segment of only people that came to your site from a link on a particular, on some other site. So everybody that comes to Valachi from Drupal.org, we can assume that they're interested in Drupal-y stuff, and we can show them Drupal-y stuff on our site, right? So that can be a segment. And we can get more complex. If they come from Drupal.org or from Commerce Guys, that's probably Drupal-y, right? So we're going to show them Drupal stuff. You can segment on what region of the country they're in, or what state they're in. You can segment on you could segment on an individual. So if I wanted to, I could create a segment that's just Ryan, right? I could put his email address in, and I would say anybody that has this email address, then that's who's in our segment. And then I could actually display custom messages just to that person, right? So let's go through and take a look at what segments are about. So here's, let me just create a new segment here, and we'll just call this demo segment. And I've probably got several, so we'll call this demo 7, all right? And I'm going to add a condition. Delete these conditions, no. I want to add a condition. And I can say, you know, if anybody who came in on one of these campaigns that we've set up, or if I can say, here are these contact attributes. In fact, we'll go ahead and set it up based on email address. So we'll apply that. And let's say the email address has to contain commerce guys. And we'll just leave it at that. And then that can be our segment. And I'll save that. And I don't know if there are any people in that segment, but we can go find out. Have you visited our site before, Ryan?
I don't think you have my email address, but maybe Candace or Steven or Mike.
Let's take a look here, and we can save or let's hit the test segments. It'll tell us if there's anybody in our database.
Scott, you should know that.
Wow, 5. We have 5 contacts, so that's good. So let's then go back to our visitors, and we can say, well, you know, who are those contacts? We'll broaden out our dates here. Might have been way back, but we'll go back to, say, the beginning of April. It might turn for a second as it's querying the database. But we're going to be able to see everybody from... You guys don't love us very much. But you get the idea. Here we go. So Tim and Mike. We can see what they did on the site. And then we could set up an email account. Or actually what would be really cool is we could set up an alert. So an alert is, in the marketing automation tool, it's basically it tells you that an event is happening right now. So I'm going to set up an alert right here, and I'm going to go on the segment Demo 7, and I'm going to call this the Commerce Guys alert. And somebody at Commerce Guys is on our website. And I can, so enhanced and immediate. An enhanced alert will not alert me right away. It'll wait until that person leaves the site, and then the alert that I get will show me all of their click stream. An immediate alert means if somebody hits the site, boom, I'm going to get an email about that. So send this alert to, I can use my email address. I can also use, you may not know this, but if you use your cell phone provider will actually text you if you send an email to your email address or to your cell phone number at like AT&T.com. Then you'll get a text alert. So you can actually send a text alert using the email system here. But I'm going to save that off. And now, whenever Ryan goes and visits my website, I'm going to get an alert. Now, why would I want that alert? What would I do with that? Well, you could. I mean, it starts to get a little, you know, every time if I go visit somebody's website, my phone rings, and it's not. I mean, that gets a little creepy, you know. But I could certainly just be aware. One of the things that we've done is we've created a customer segment, right, where we've added all of our customers to that segment, and then when a customer visits the site, we get an enhanced alert, and we can kind of, if they're having trouble with their installation, if they need support or help, they may not fill out a form or something, but at least we know, you know.
If you're like close, you've got a big deal pending.
Sure.
You're trying to close. You'd really like to know that your individual prospect.
That's absolutely right. In fact, we've even at times set up specific landing pages for individual people, and then sent them an email that said, hey, we've set up, you know, we've got some information here for you to come, you know, just come take a look at it. And I want my sales guy to know when that person has viewed that page. You know, and so we set up an alert to make that happen. Yes, sir. Oh,
If you have time, can you cover a little bit about how you're identifying the people? Obviously, you know, you send out emails, they click on a link that alerts them.
Yep.
Can you also identify them if you have content on the site that requires them to authenticate? You know, once they authenticate, you know, you pull down all the information that track them as they go through the site.
sure. So the question was, could I talk about the ways that we identify people? And the fact that we do identify them by sending out an email and then they click and they come to the site, and that's one way. But what are the other ways, like a piece of content that we want somebody to, if they want to download it, they've got to provide us with information. And I'm going to go now into kind of the Drupal side of the integration, and I'm actually going to show you what the dashboard looks like that we've built into Drupal. And then I'm going to give you a demo that's going to show off one of the ways, which is a form fill out involving a white paper. So we're going to get to that. And that's, I mean, the email click and the form fill out, those are going to be 90 or 99% or more of the ways that you can identify somebody.
Does it backtrack from the time they fill out the form and give us the previous history of what you looked at?
It does, and that's actually one of the significant advantages over using a marketing automation tool that is not part of your Drupal installation, is that Drupal really only identifies people after they've logged in and created a Drupal account, whereas Automator treats everybody as if they are authenticated. So even if we don't know who they are, we're keeping track of everything about them. And then at some point when we do identify them, then yes, all of that anonymous history is married to that new account that just got created, and you can see the whole everything that they've done. In fact, we're multi-device aware, meaning if you're on your browser on your laptop and you fill out a form and identify yourself, we've got all that history. But then if you opened up your cell phone and you were visiting our site, that's going to be a different browser, different cookie. We're not going to know who you are. But if you check your email and you got our newsletter and you click on it in your cell phone, well, now all that anonymous history is going to get married to your profile, and that profile is going to have multiple cookies associated with it, and we can track everything you've done across all your devices. And then you can, of course, trigger events based on what the person's done. All right, let me jump out of here and over to, now I'm going to warn you before we get in here, I'm working right now with dev code on a dev server, so it could all crash and burn at any moment. But let's go over to the Automator, what we're calling the Automator Insight module. And what we've done is using APIs, we've built Automator functionality into your Drupal admin screens. So here we are in, and we got our big browser problem again. Okay. So I showed you visitors. I showed you what that looks like. Of course, I don't have a lot of segments in here. Like I said, this is kind of our dev server, but you can do the same functionality in click search. Sorting and all that kind of stuff is all built now into your Drupal screen. You've got, so these are the different test accounts that I've created. If you wanted to see, what has Willie Nelson been doing on my site this week, you can click. And this part down here is iframed, just for speed of getting it up and getting a functional solution. But we could be pulling all this stuff using APIs and displaying it natively in Drupal. But you can see click activity. If I go back, if I want to send him an email, I just click on his email address, and it's going to pull up a little screen here for me. Any templates, and I don't have any to show you, I wish I did, but any templates I've created in my Automator instance for campaigns or anything else, even if the template is just like my signature, it would pull it over, and then I could edit that email and click send with Automator, and again, it's going to track everything that happens with that email as if I'd sent it as part of a marketing campaign. So if they open the email, that's going to be tracked. If there's a link that they click, it's hashed to that person, it's going to be tracked. So it's a great way to continue the conversation and facilitate engagement with your target audience. Now, these activities are probably more something that a salesperson would do rather than a marketer. Marketers don't generally target people one at a time. And that's why all of the screens that you see here in your Drupal admin, we've also built into a plugin for Salesforce.com. So we're deeply integrated with Salesforce. It bidirectionally syncs your leads. If a lead score gets high enough, or really anything anything can be used as a trigger, and that trigger would upload that information over into Salesforce. There's no programming that needs to be done. If you install Automator, your Drupal site is now integrated with Salesforce.com. Reporting, setting up new alerts. I'm not going to go through and show it all to you again, but since you are kind of a developer-y crowd, here you'd come over to Setup, and in Setup you would enter your credentials and you'd paste in your implementation code. You can create custom fields, even export your Drupal users. So if you have a bunch of people that have logged into Drupal, you've got a disconnect, right? You've got your marketing database and you've got your Drupal database. Well, using the export user tool, you actually map your Drupal fields to your Automator fields, and it does a push, and it uploads all that information and synchronizes it, right? And then the other thing you're going to do on your Drupal site is you're going to map all of your web forms. So one of the big advantages of Automator, and something I frankly insisted on, was that you can use your Drupal forms and they still function just as well as if you, like many of our competitors, you have to embed their form on your Drupal site. You cannot use Drupal web forms with most marketing automation tools on the market. You would map all of your forms in Drupal, and once you've pushed all your Drupal users and you've mapped all of your forms, then you're going to maintain database parity. Basically, the same information is going to be stored in both places. All right.
So when someone signs up on your site, it gets pushed to Automator?
Automatically, yes.
Okay.
So let me show you. We have built in, let me go to the token help screen just to show you kind of how we're doing some of this stuff. What we've done is we've built all of Automator's fields and all the data in your Automator database. We've built them into tokens, Drupal tokens. So now you can use marketing automation information to build your solutions. Whatever that solution is you're building for your customer, you can now access Automator information. I'll show you a little bit about just a very, very basic use of that in a few moments. But we've also taken it a step further, and we've built it into the rules workflow as well. So if I create a rule here, and well, actually, I know I've got a demo over here. So if I go in here and I just say content is viewed or whatever, then we've built in all of these Automator rules. So if the lead score is higher or lower than a certain number, if they're in a list, or if they belong to a segment, we can now trigger Drupal events based on data that's being dynamically pulled out of Automator. So let me show you that in action, and then that'll wrap up my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So I'm going to open up an Incognito window here. I'm getting to be pretty good at this part. All right, and I'm going to go to our dev server. Oh, incidentally, we've been working with the team at ESRI Solutions, who's a Drupal development shop, and they've been building out a lot of the integrations and a lot of the goodness that I'm showing you today. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and say thank you for helping us with that. So here we are at a very typical standard Drupal website, very boring website.com, and I've come in here and my experience is I've got a site that's very just kind of generic, but for whatever reason I've decided, hey, I want to sign up for the newsletter. Now, one thing that as marketers that we struggle with frequently is that it's when you ask somebody to fill out a form, their answer is usually no. So there's a lot of reticence, there's a lot of hesitancy to fill out any forms on a website because who is this organization, what are they going to do with my information, blah, blah, blah. So the shorter the form, the higher the likelihood is that they're going to fill it out, and which is, of course, what you want. Well, one of the lowest bars is a newsletter, right? You don't need very much information. In fact, all you absolutely have to have is an email address. So I'm running out of famous Austin people to use. Let's say who's a famous person from Austin? No, I'm not going to use Lance Armstrong. Thanks, though. Who? Oh, Matthew McConaughey. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. All right. So Matt at bongomatt.com. And I'm just going to copy that just because I need to remember it later on. So, well, shit, I don't know. All right. It's not important for the demo that your customer spells their name right, okay? So, in any case, so what we've done right now is, so I've filled out the form, great, I'm subscribed to the newsletter. We've now stored that person's information, and they fill out a form, right? And so that's one of the ways that they can identify themselves, and we now know who this person is. And the way Incognito windows work is that as long as I keep this window open, it maintains cookies and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go and say I'm surfing around. I go, oh, hey, you know what? I didn't see this white paper up here, so I'm going to go download that cool white paper that they've been talking about here on the site. This is where we hold our fingers like this. Everybody, come on. Hey, so what we've done is we've now, since this person is identified, we've gone and pulled their information from the Automator database and done some pre-population of the form, right? This is all Drupal native stuff. This is not anything that you know, that's not Drupal native. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so you want to download the white paper. So of course we're going to ask them for an email address, which I know we entered it before, but they may want it sent to a different place. And also, if they had forwarded their email, that say they had received an email and forwarded it, there's no way that we know that the person coming in is really this person, because this is not an authenticated user. So we have stored data in Drupal about a non-authenticated Drupal user. This is very different. So I'm going to add the email address in here. And you know what? He is from Austin, Texas, and I happen to know his zip code is 78777. And so I'm going to submit that form. And there we go. Now that I've collected some information about this person, I can start to do some pretty cool things with that information. So on the home page, I've set up a rule. Yay! I've set up a rule that has identified that this person is from Texas. And I've said, hey, howdy, Matt. So this is a token. We did a token replace. We are going to be at Drupal Camp Austin. Please come see us at the Austin Convention Center. Right? So now you can create customized dynamic content right on your Drupal site using native rules and using token replace, pulling information from a world-class marketing automation database system. Thank you. You guys want to see what it looks like, what the rule? I showed you the rules, I showed you the tokens. There's nothing else to show you. It's pretty, I mean, that's the thing about it is that you get a lot of power, but it's actually pretty easy to set up.
How to default the data onto a website?
How to default the data onto, I don't even know what that means.
You brought in his name and his first and last
Oh,
name.
yes, absolutely. So the question is, can you show us how you matched up the data on the form? So you simply go to the form itself. There are two ways that the form has to be matched up. One of those ways is actually in Automator, and you go to the Market Center, you go to Forms, and then there's this Web Form Mappings. You've got to do this after your code is installed, your Automator code is installed on your Drupal site. Then you come here and you go through and you map all of your forms, including your login form, including your search form. Everything that is a field on your site, you should map it into your Automator instance, okay? And we're working on like a future version of the module where you'll go and map all of your Drupal fields and all your forms will be mapped automatically. But we're not there yet. So for now, what you do is you come in here, and this is what the form mapping looks like. It's really easy. Automator goes back to your Drupal site. It grabs all the fields. You paste in a URL where the form is, and it goes to that URL, and it pulls in all the fields, even the invisible ones, right? So you're going to ignore most of them. You want these submitted fields. And then you just map. These are my Automator fields. And you just map the Drupal name, the Drupal field name, to my Automator name. And then you can do things like, anybody who fills this out, also add them to the newsletter subscriber list, which is how you're going to create your list, right? A list is a static list of names. It exists in the database. It's like, think of it like an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of names on it, right? That is what a list is. A segment is a search, right? It is a query against the database for users. And a segment, the only thing we store about a segment is what the query is. We don't store who's in the segment. Because it's only going to be pulled whenever that segment is run. These are learning curve things. It's the cliff, right? Once you get past that part, it's really, you start to understand how it all works. So this is how you're going to get data from Drupal into Automator. Now let me go back over to my Drupal site and show you how we're pulling data out of Automator back into Drupal. So basically, I'm at the same form. I go to the Web Form tab. And you've got this extra little button over here called Web Form Mapping. And you're going back the other way. So this is the Drupal field, and then I'm going to go and pull from Automator, the Valachi Automator field, right? And you map that up and save it, and then whenever that form is reloaded, so let's go back over here. I'm going to go back to the same form. And it's going to query and pre-populate the form with anything that's mapped. So it's it's a little bit. It takes a little bit of knowledge to set it up. That's one of the things that we do at Volacci when we get a new account. Is we have a checklist of here's the things that we need to help that customer set up. It's part of our coaching. It's part of our training that comes for free with all Automator accounts. We have coaches, actually our coaches here. Eric, why don't you stand up? Eric does the coaching for all of our new clients, and he's pretty awesome. He's a good guy. He's the guy you call if you can't figure something out. We want you to be successful, obviously with Drupal, but with marketing automation and with Automator as well. So we're here to do whatever it takes. You're asking for your shirt. Are you a large or a larger? Yes. I have one other shirt, so it's good. A large? Okay. I think these are the largest.
What other CRMs do you guys plan to support in the future for integration?
What other CRMs do we plan to support? So it depends on what you mean by support. The question was, what other CRMs do we plan to support in the future? So what do you mean by support?
Integration, or the seamless integration back and forth for the data from Automator. Right now you're supporting Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
Any plans for Sugar or Dynamics?
So we already support both of those.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Sugar CRM, Salesforce.com, Microsoft Dynamics, and what's the other one? Sales Logics. Those are the platforms that are already supported. Everything's API driven, and we can probably support any of them. But it just depends on how open they are with letting us embed our own screens and stuff in their tool. But if there's a particular platform that or CRM that you need to support, let us know, and we'll let you know how easy it would be for us to develop a support for that. Yes, sir?
How do you do group emailing?
How are we doing group emailing? We have an integration with a company called SendGrid, and they're a big email marketing platform for developers. Have you heard of SendGrid? The question again was, how are you guys supporting email marketing? So, was there another comment?
SendGrid's a Rex-based company, right?
I don't think so. Other questions? Yes, sir.
There's a price for your software?
There's a price for my software. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Do you guys want me to share the price of my software with you?
It's on these big cards.
It is. It is. We have our standard package is $1,000 a month, and that he mouthed "ouch" at me. So it is it's a price point that we feel is very competitive with most tools that are on the market, especially for companies that are in the Drupal space. There really are no other tools that are doing what we're doing right now. But that gets you either an unlimited number of contacts in the system or an unlimited number of email sends. And you pick which one. We want you to pick whichever plan's cheaper for you. We have a starter plan that starts at $500 a month, and that gets you a limited amount of contacts in the system and a limited number of sends. But I think it's like 20,000 contacts and 30,000 sends or something. So for a lot of companies, that starter pack is going to be enough to get you going until your database gets a pretty good size. But we can scale up. We have one customer right now that's sending between 2 and 3 million emails a month. So it does scale. Do what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. It's $500 a month if you pay for a year at a time. $600 if you pay month to month. We do. Well, you guys just ask the best questions. We have we're offering a 14-day trial, and if you want to get an extended trial, you just come see me today after the show, and I can extend a 21-day trial to you, but only for those of you in the room right now, not the video people. Thank you.
So,
I'm going to go back here, and I'll come up.
Yeah. Well, I actually work for the university, and I'm wondering, can public sector or government benefit from this marketing?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, who did you say you work for?
City of Austin.
City of Austin. Okay, welcome. Very exciting that the city that I live in uses Drupal, the tool that I love. So I have large and really large. Which size would you like? I'm not even gonna. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is the smallest we have left. Would you run that back to her? Would you mind taking that back to her? Can government? The question was, can government entities or NGOs use marketing automation, take advantage of it? Absolutely. I think there are some really significant applications certainly in the if anybody that's sending out emails and you want to track how well those emails are working, the efficacy of those emails, I think can really benefit from having marketing automation installed. In the recruiting, if you do recruiting like at a university that's doing recruiting for top-level students, absolutely, there are a number of ways that you could use marketing automation to keep track of who's actually interested in attending your university. And so you know where to better apply resources and scholarships and things like that. What we're trying to do is offer a robust system and the tools to use it with a Drupal implementation, and lots of encouragement and hope and caring and coaching so that you will figure out those use cases. But there absolutely are great use cases for government for marketing automation.
You're doing email campaign management through Automator.
So, excuse me, I will preface this by saying that it is not as robust as MailChimp. I really feel like MailChimp is great for people who don't know design, don't know really anything, and they want templatized emails that they can send out. What happens in most, excuse me. What happens in most organizations is they have one email template that they want to use again and again and again, right? So for that kind of situation, obviously it's really easy to get that template into Automator. Let me show you that. Let me go back over to our Valachi instance because we've got a lot more cool stuff we could show. So you go into this Emails tab. And these are the different emails that we've set up. Let's look at a recent newsletter. And this is our newsletter from the third week in June, and this is just what it looks like. Thank you. We are so quite simply to save this email and send out a next one, you just click Save As, and then go take out the stuff you don't want, add the stuff you do. It's WYSIWYG editor. Do we have a bunch of templates that you can click on one and it shows up? No, we don't have that. But you know what? If you're doing stuff in Drupal, what we would like to do is, and again, this is future roadmap stuff, is have a newsletter module in Drupal that pulls your theme, where you kind of set up your newsletter and stuff in Drupal and click a button and it pushes that to a template in Automator that then you would just go say, okay, send this email to this list. And it's pulling on in Drupal, it's pulling in from your blog, it's pulling in from whatever sources you have in Drupal already, RSS or whatever it is. And just making email creation, very, very quick and easy. And again, it's that integration with between Drupal and Automator where you're going to start to see solutions that have become very, very, very powerful. So I'll take one more question if there is one. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, can you talk about what it takes to keep your outbound email out of spam folders?
What does it take to keep your outbound email out of the spam folders? Don't send spam. That's kind of the first thing. Thank you for those that chuckled. It is the very last joke of the day, except for that one and that one. Right, I understand that. Well, so you want to, like I talked about earlier, the more tailored the email is to what that person's interests are, the more likely it is that they're going to not mark it as spam. There are, canned spam compliance, which we've built right in, where you want to put your address and you want to have an unsubscribe button. You want to do all the things that are necessary. But I mean, I think the most important thing is make sure you're sending people email that they want to get, and that's a hard thing, but that's where the creativity of the marketer has to come in. Did you get a shirt? You got a shirt. I'm going to be dressing you for like a month, so.
I think he may be talking about also a lot of the services have a spam filter check you can run on an email to look for word patterns that the list, the blackout and blacklist are looking for in emails. And is that something in your campaign manager right now, or is it something we can do?
I don't think we have. Eric, do we have a spam? No. Yeah, that's not something that we have right now, but I will make a note of it and see what it would take to get something like that in place. It's a great feature request. I think I've already taken my last question. It is after 5 now. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience.